It was not a conversation I was supposed to hear. It was probably one I could have been killed for overhearing, if they'd found me listening. It started with a council meeting, one I had no reason for being at, other than association. The grapes in Arbor Meadow have been the territory of the Unseelie for a millennia untold, a representative from the Winter Court was saying. That is so, Queen Mab said, looking bored. The land is in Unseelie territory, and always has been. Then how is it that this wine merchant you represent, the Fae said, pointing to a councilman from Summer, came to be in possession of our grapes? He was aware that the grapes were from Unseelie territory, said the representative from Summer, which is why we purchased them rather than steal them. The representative of Winter scoffed. He bought them from goblins, not even from our merchants, who would never sell such a thing to Summer Fae. I would wager that is why he was so keen to have them. Such things are rarely seen in the Seelie markets. I was spinning a pencil between my fingers, trying not to yawn, hoping that it would be over soon. Well, said Goblin, stole grapes from our arbor, making your merchant an unknowing accomplice in this crime. The summer counselor rolled his eyes. Then take it up with the goblins. The merchant is not at fault for buying goods he believed to be legally obtained. The burden of crime falls on the party at fault, not the man who has purchased them. Yes, well, your client has in his possession a product made from our product, and we wish the product returned before it can flood the market with fraudulent impersonations of our wine. I yawned into the back of my hand, feeling my eyes getting heavy. This had nothing to do with me. Why was I even here? Yet again, this is not the fault of my client. The fault seems to be with the goblins that stole from you. Well, it is the fault of your client for— Enough, Titania said. Do we know which goblins are at fault? The winemaker reported that the goblins were the patch of Clan Moonsilk, my lady, said the representative of Summer. Those goblins are allied with the Unseelie court. Queen Mab, will you take it upon yourself to send a representative to see what can be learned? I will, Queen Mab said. If there is truth to this claim, then we shall take restitution from the clan to pay for the theft. My queen, what of the matter of the wine? The Winter Counselor asked. Healthy competition is always welcome within the market. If his wine is superior, then he may have to return to the less savory means to acquire more grapes. Once is a mistake, twice is a pattern. Let us see if he will seek the goblins out again once their crimes are thought to be brought to light. Queen Titania, will you advise the wine merchant of this, so we are not forced to sit through such nonsense again? I will. I believe that will end our meeting for today. We shall convene again when we have business to conduct. We rose, bowed to the queens, and took our leave. Well, they did. I stayed behind so I could have a word with the queens of Fae. Excuse me, Queen Titania, I asked, the beautiful Fae woman looking down at me questioningly. I was curious if there had been any news from your scouts. Queen Mab made a snooty noise. If we had anything to tell you, we would have. Do not presume to rush the forces of nature, Brandylow. Titania looked at her sister with a long, suffering glance before turning back to me. We have not. I am so sorry. Wherever the green man has her, he has hidden her well. I thought I might offer a suggestion, I said. seeing Mab bristle a bit before Titania put a hand out. "Let us hear him, Mab. He may have information we do not."
"Such presumption! If this knowledge was obtainable by one such as him, what makes him think that we would not already know?"
"Sometimes the ant knows things the sparrow does not. The rabbit holds secrets the wolf may never learn. Let us give him a chance." I bowed my head. "Thank you, my queen. A letter I received from her knight told us they were being drawn towards the state of Arkansas. Tobias thinks they might be heading for the Ozark Mountains, given their trajectory." "Interesting," Titania said.
"So?"
Mab asked. "I had thought it was information you might be able to use. It's a place to start, maybe." The queens looked at each other, nodded in unison, and Titania turned back with a small smile. "Thank you for this information, counselor. We will pass it along to those who are looking for the lady, and they will see what they will see. It was good of you to bring it to our attention."
"Good for whom? We shall see," Mab added coldly.
I bowed, turning to go. The queens conversed softly as I stepped out of the meeting hall, and as I prepared to step through the portal and into the grow room, I saw someone that I recognized. It was Wysanther, Titania's knight, and he was doing some very obvious skulking. I watched him around a corner, him not even noticing me, and felt moved to see where he was going. It was just a thought, a feeling more than anything, and I went slow so my hooves wouldn't clack on the stone floor. I needn't have worried about the sound. For someone in Fey-made armor, he was very loud. I followed him at a safe distance as he clinked and clanked through the halls towards wherever he was going. Finally, he took a left, stepping into a little room off the main hall, closing the door behind himself. I came up to lean closer, and it sounded as if there was someone in there with him. They were talking in low voices, their business likely clandestine, and as I leaned against the crack in the door, I listened intently.
"And now they're heading for the Ozark Mountains. How the hell do they know where she is?"
"I hear one of the Green Man's own is traveling with her. Maybe he knows where the Green Man's lair is."
"Not a chance. He's never been there. Hell, I've never been there. It's hidden in the cave system deep under the mountains. There's no way a couple of nobodies are just going to stumble across it while out on a walk."
"If they do, though," he paused, thinking about it, "well, he has to keep her there until the cusp of spring. If he doesn't, well, he won't get what he's looking for, will he?"
Holy hell, I thought. They were talking about the lady and the Green Man, and where she was being held. I didn't understand all of it, but I got some of it, and I stored all of it in my memory so that I could keep it for later. Tobias might know, and maybe I could get it to Randy, and he would know even more. I'd have to be careful. If they caught me, I'd be lucky to make it back to the garden in one piece.
"Has he figured it out yet? Does he know how to be whole again?"
"I don't believe he does. He says he does, but I think he's lying. She won't tell him either. His minions, the whistling one, claims that he should beat her, but he's held himself in check so far. He doesn't believe that she will crack, no matter what he does. He thinks if he can study her, if he can learn from her, then he can achieve a form.
And if he can't?"
"Then I believe the week before spring will be very bad for her. When faced with the idea of another year spent without a body, he might become desperate. Desperation breeds anger, and when he becomes angry, he may forget his promise to do her no harm.
I stepped away. I'd heard enough. I went quickly to the area where the portal would be, but I got turned around. I suppose all the damn halls looked the same, and when a familiar voice slid up my back, my teeth came together with a clack. "Hey, you get lost?" I turned to find the smiling Wysanther, his head of dandelion fluff dancing as he came up the hall. Yeah, I'm trying to find my way back to the council chamber. This place is so cool, I was just doing a little looking around." I smiled back, trying to keep the dread off my face as he looked at me. "Well, nothing wrong with a little curiosity. Let's get you back to the council chamber." We walked along, Wysanther taking turns with confidence as he navigated the very samey-looking hallway. "You're one of those Brandylow from the park, right?" he asked. I am. I'm the ladies' representative at the council." "Really? Coming up in the world? Good for you." We walked on, and I hoped he wasn't just leading me to a good spot to kill me. If he realized I'd been following him, this could be an attempt to get me out of the way. We walked the halls together, me not daring to even look at him, and he seemed to take this as a sign of something. "I understand," he said, looking up the hall as I dared to glance at him. "I know it's hard on you guys back at the park since she got taken. Don't worry, I'm sure she'll come back soon. I pray daily that your knight comes back with news of her." "Yeah, me too. I'm sure that she will, someday." We came back to the main hall, and I hoped he couldn't smell the blood on my palms. I'd been digging my claws into them, trying to stop myself from shaking, and I was sure that they were bleeding. He stopped, smiled, and looked at me, and it was hard to believe that this was the man who was conspiring against us. He was so nice. He practically exuded positive energy when I had reason to be around him, and if I hadn't known better, I would have doubted myself. It was odd to think that someone so sunny could be such a snake. Well, here we are. If you go exploring again, just remember that Fey buildings have a lot to do with intent. If you know where you're going, then it's easier to get there. Just keep to the place in your mind, and you'll find yourself there. I hope to hear of your lady's return very soon." He bowed, and I returned it, careful not to put my back to him. I thanked him and stepped into the grow house as the room portal disappeared behind me. Tobias looked up from the growing bed, looking a little worried when he saw my face. "Looks as if you might have gotten more from the meeting than you intended. Feel like sharing?" I nodded, and we went to the office to talk it over. Tobias and I had much to discuss, it seemed.
"You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel.
Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.